Now we're talking.
Thanks for joining us here on Mid Morning. I'm Heather Brown.
And I'm Jason DeRusho. We begin with breaking news in the Derek Chauvin trial. Judge Peter Cahill handing down several key rulings within the last half hour. The judge denied a defense request to delay the trial, so that means the trial will begin on schedule a little later this month. The judge also denied a request to move the trial out of Hennepin County because of publicity over the settlement between the city and George Floyd's family in a civil lawsuit. The judge also considered a motion regarding a 2019 arrest of George Floyd, and he allowed some evidence from that arrest.
Christiane Cordero joins us live now with more details on the judge's decision. Christiane?
Well, Heather, we put a lot of anticipation into today's decisions because they had every reason to change the course of this case and of this trial, and they did ever so slightly, specifically when it comes to what the defense and prosecution will be arguing once the doors open for the trial itself next week, or rather the week after. But the thing that the Judge Cahill really kind of expanded upon the most was what was permissible for this 2019 video of George Floyd's arrest. 2019, right? This was a year before the 2020 arrest that, of course, led to this becoming such a big viral story. But what he really wants to try and thread here is the idea that the defense could use the 2019 video if it backs up the cause of death. And by that I mean the body-worn camera video of the officers approaching Mr. Floyd, him ingesting pills, which is part of their argument, and things of that nature. They are not allowed to make judgments on his character, which is one thing that prosecutors were very concerned about, showing a repeated pattern of behavior. And that's important because prosecutors were then going to try and get an expert, a psychiatrist, to weigh in on that behavior, and that is what the judge said, nope, we're not going to allow that. Now, so that's where things stand right now as far as the George Floyd video from 2019 goes. The other things that he weighed on were change of venue and continuance. In other words, delaying the case, delaying the trial because of this publicity, particularly of the $27 million civil settlement. The judge said that he put a lot of thought into it, but the facts came down to that it would be really hard to move this at any point in time this year or next, or at any other location. Here's what he had to say.
Unfortunately, I think the pretrial publicity in this case will continue, no matter how long we continue it. Perhaps some of it may, with time, be forgotten by people. And as far as change of venue, I do not think that that would give the defendant any kind of a fair trial beyond what we are doing here today.
So day 10 of jury selection comes in today to start, well, actually right now. But one thing that's noteworthy, too, that perhaps did add to the context of this decision was the fact that they have 12 jurors seated. So they have been able to find some people who, after intense scrutiny, were able to say that they can be impartial in this. There are 2 more to go, and those would be added to the 14 total, 2 of which would be alternates, and we will have to wait and see who the alternates are in this case, Heather and Jason, as this jury selection continues.
Christiane, we just got a statement from the Attorney General's office where they said that they are ready to go. They are ready for the trial to proceed on schedule. So certainly that was the case they made all along, and so it will.
Absolutely.
Christiane Cordero.
So it will. March 29th.
March 29th, yep. Just a week from Monday, is that right?
Yeah, a week and a day.
Yeah, Christiane, thank you.
All right, as Christiane just mentioned, we have 1 week to go. There are still 2 of those jury seats to fill. Right now, the jury, those 12 people, comprised of 6 people who are white, 6 people of color. The court does have today and then all of next week to decide on those last 2 jurors, once again making the jury pool 14 there. 2 of those will ultimately be alternates.
Let's get insight from criminal defense attorney and legal analyst Joe Tamburino. Joe, what stood out to you this morning?
Good morning. What stood out is that the judge is letting in basically the meat and potatoes of the May 2019 arrest, specifically the medical evidence. What the judge did was really thread the needle in just admitting or allowing to be admitting the medical evidence of Mr. Floyd consuming drugs, ingesting drugs when confronted by the police.
The defense wanted much more than that. The judge talked about the difference between sort of the physical body reaction of George Floyd and then the emotion that he showed there.
You're right. The defense did want a lot more, but the judge did not go that far. Basically, some of what the defense wanted would get into the area of character evidence, which is not admissible. You simply just can't get up on the stand or put witnesses up to simply smear someone's character. So the judge didn't go that far. The judge truly limited this just to medical evidence, which goes directly to the issue of cause of death.
Joe, maybe we should back up a minute and let our viewers know what we're talking about here. In 2019, there is body cam video of police officers approaching George Floyd in a scenario that the judge said at least started in an extremely similar manner to what happened when Derek Chauvin approached him, correct?
That's correct. This case has so many things to it that are extremely interesting. The judge's actual words was that the 2019 arrest was remarkably similar in almost all aspects, but the judge again limited it to just the issues involving cause of death. He did not let everything in about the 2019 arrest, specifically things about emotional state or character evidence.
We also had big decisions here this morning on no delaying the trial, no changing the venue there. And Joe, what I thought was interesting here, it wasn't that the judge said we shouldn't consider moving the trial. It was more that he said there's really no place we could move the trial to.
You're absolutely right, and the judge is right. Right now, with all the media attention and the ability basically to anybody in the world to view what's happening in this case, there's really no place to put the trial. So, and the judge also made a good point that right now with these 12 jurors, he believes that it's a fair selection and they can be fair and impartial. When he said, really, there's no better place than here right now to get a fair trial for the defendant, that spoke volumes.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Not a huge surprise, but Heather's point, I think, is spot on, that if we were in a vacuum, it sounded like the judge would have moved the trial if you could somehow make that work. He has expressed his frustration with all of the pretrial publicity, and he said it was prejudicial, which way it cuts, who knows, but he said it cuts. But you just can't do it. It goes to the idea of whether a change of venue is even a viable thing in any case, in any jurisdiction, because of the way news travels today.
That's absolutely correct, and you're right about in the vacuum, and so is Heather right. If this were a case that happened 20 years ago, without all of the, everybody's smartphones and pads, the judge very well could have changed venue. But right now, with everybody being able to access media at all times of the day, the judge simply said this is the best place for it.
And Joe, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but this trial does have to stay in the state of Minnesota. They couldn't move it to another state, right?
That's absolutely correct. Okay. This is a state case, state charges. It must be in Minnesota.
In the courtroom right now, Joe, jury selection continues. 2 more to go. And we don't know if these 2 will be the alternates, but they will be the 2 that will allow this jury pool to have 2 extras should somebody need to drop out or get sick or whatever the case may be, right?
Do you still have those concerns?
That's correct. Normally, the last 1 or 2 jurors picked will be the alternates. In this case, there are 2 alternates, so these next 2 jurors could be the alternates. However, the judge has not announced, at least publicly, the alternate selection process.
So, Joe, let's say we get through today, we choose those final 2. Is next week just a break, essentially, and then the jurors reconvene on the 29th?
That's correct. Next week is a complete break for the parties. I think they're going to consider it a well-deserved break because there's been so much activity in this case. And then it all starts up again on March 29th, where there will be opening statements, and then they'll go directly into testimony.
All right. Just about a week away. Joe Tamburino, thanks for the insight on the breaking news that we've been covering today. Jury selection, Joe will be a part of it. On CBSN Minnesota, we've been streaming that so you can watch it. It's a real-world kind of classroom learning about our legal processes for the first time in Minnesota. We have cameras in a criminal case like this.